Yo, what is up? It's your boys Heather here, back with another brand new What If. So, as you can see from the title, this is going to be What If Deku was the Red Hood. How is this going to work? Watch to find out. Okay, so Deku would be at the doctor's office after just being told he'll never develop a quirk. He'll go home and his mother will be silent and kind of crying along the way, with Deku in the back seat, not really knowing what to say or do. His world was crushed right before his eyes, and his mother was doing nothing to help him. All he wanted to hear was, "You can become a hero, Izuku," but Deku's dreams were being broken. He would get home and play the All Might video with his mother, going up to him and having Izuku cry in his arms, saying that she's sorry and she wishes things were different. Meanwhile, outside there would be a government van, with people talking and a certain person talking into a sort of earpiece. His name would be Commander Ross. Now, Commander Ross would actually ask into the earpiece saying, "Do we have the clear to go?" This is when you'll hear an ominous voice in the background say, "Yes." And then, in a matter of minutes, men would rush into Deku's apartment, breaking down the door, knocking Inko out, taking Izuku by force, and having him in the van. And then Izuku will actually wake up hours later in a cell, where there will be a man who then walks out of nowhere from the shadows and says, "I'm glad you're awake." He'll then ask Izuku that if he wants to become a hero. This is when Deku will kind of in a fearful tone of voice say, "Yes, more than anything in the world." This is when Ross will then say, "Good, because as of today, you are part of experiment E1F830, and you will be trained as of this moment to become the strongest." Deku will then start to think that he can become a hero and they'll help him. And from that day forward, stays hidden in that same facility. They were actually quite generous and gave him a giant room, a bathroom next to it, a shower, a big bed, a personal cook who would make him anything he wanted, and whatever he wants, as in video game consoles and things like that, just to keep him entertained. Treat him as humanely as possible, obviously no contact from the outside world, and would not really respect him the first couple years. He would grow up training and learning how to use almost every weapon and train his body until he collapses. He was training so hard, in fact, that by the age of 8, he was able to take out some of the most elite members of the force and was actually extremely skilled in hand-to-hand combat. As time went on, he would spend his days learning how to wield knives, swords, brass knuckles, high-powered weapons, pistols, snipers, and train in almost all sorts of martial arts and combat styles. By the age of 13, he would have the entire skill set of the Red Hood and be an amazing fighter. This means he would be a detective, obviously. He'd have all the skills. This is when one day Deku would just be in his room, minding his own business, doing some push-ups, sit-ups, having a white tank top on and some black joggers, when General Ross would walk in and tell him that he's going to be finally fulfilling his role in the experiment. He'll then tell him that they're going to fly off to a secure location and inject him with a serum that will make him even stronger. It will make him the perfect weapon. And Deku would raise an eyebrow to this, thinking, "Oh, stronger, better, faster?" And Deku would actually go off. He would arrive into a lab of sorts and would be laid down in a tube with liquids, and there would be a man, a doctor of sorts. Turns out, this man would have green goggles and a white doctor coat. He'd also look very old and have a twisted smile with a gray mustache and not be balding. The man would then proceed to say hello to Izuku and tell him that he's going to be the one who's working on Izuku. He would then proceed to give him a fake name and tie him down, with at first treating him with kindness, and after he ties him down, he would finally have a twisted smile and reveal his true intentions, then proceed to shoot General Ross in the head and say, "This was perfect. You did everything I told you to." He would then proceed to perform various tests on him for weeks, for days, for hours. It would feel like years for Deku, with one day Deku actually passing out with his heartbeat stopping, and this is when blood would start to come out of his nose, mouth, eyes, and ears, and he would die. The doctor would then slam the table. Damn it! Another failure. Take him away. And they would throw Deku out like garbage and leave him for dead, looking for the next target, the next person that they could acquire. They were looking for quirkless humans since quirks and the serum that they were injecting didn't really mix together. Okay. Deku, on Deku's point of view, he would wake up after about 2 days, presumably dead, until he'll wake up remembering everything that was done to him. And this is when he'll then vow to get revenge on that twisted man. He'll then sneak out of the facility without being noticed, of course, due to his extreme stealth. And the men wouldn't really notice, so he would be gone, wiped off from the maps, and Deku would actually start thinking back on his old life, thinking those were much better days when I was a child, and would actually remember his mother. After such a long time, he barely started thinking about her. All these years, he was trained to not think about his past, to think about the future, that he would be the greatest hero once they let him out. And Deku wouldn't really mind since he was trained to be heartless and cold. This is when Deku would actually devise a plan to go into an airport, get a plane ticket, make a fake ID, and fly back to Japan, to his home, to his mother. This is when he'll then go to the apartment and find a lady who owns the building. He'll then ask her where Inko Midoriya is, and she'll say that she actually killed herself because she couldn't take the pain of the loss of her son, who was taken away a couple years ago. Keep in mind, Deku is 13 at this moment, and he was 4, so 9 years ago. Hopefully I did the math right. Holy shit. Anyways. And Deku would, not really knowing her like that, wouldn't really feel any pain. He was trained to hide his emotions and not really show him. Deku would then thank the lady and leave. He would then visit her grave and apologize for being too weak to stop them and vowing to destroy that man who ruined his life. He'd then leave and blend in with the crowd for a couple months and plot to destroy that man. At this point, Deku would be 6 feet tall, a lean, muscular guy with black hair and green tips. He would wander around until he found an abandoned warehouse where he would decide to make that his base of operations. He would then start hacking into many rich millionaires' networks and steal money to build himself a sort of base, a sort of Batcave, if you could say. Another few months would pass and he'd finally have a solid base of operations, using that money from different millionaires to hire construction workers, and make himself a sort of underground base with the top being a normal home, and his main objective would obviously be to kill the man, that doctor, the person who destroyed his entire life and everything he had worked for up until that point. He would, after a couple months, like I said, he would have the solid base, and for those couple months, he would actually be sort of vigilante, stopping petty muggers every now and then, and his drive being the doctor, like I've said already. He would actually be staying at his base one day and hacking into networks, stealing from the government, and making a sort of weapon vault, and building a huge arsenal of weapons, highly dangerous weapons, as well as training his body more than before, training to become even stronger. One day, he'll be searching on his supercomputer until he realized that it's been a year since he started tracking that man. He was now 14, and he still has found no sign of that man. He'll then get angry and destroy the mouse that he was holding in his hand and think, God damn it, I can't find anything about this man. It says he's dead. It says he's not alive. It says he never existed. Who is he? And he would get extremely angry when he would notice that he crushed the thing in his hand. That thing was actually built to resist crushing, and he would think, wow, I must have been really angry. He would then go off to train by himself, and this is when he would punch a hole straight through the really, really, really hard punching bag that he had and be very shocked. He would then realize that he was stronger, faster. He had a better senses, and he was realizing that before he was a killing machine. He was around Stain's level. But now he was a completely different person. He had a healing factor and a quirk that let him hide his presence. He would then spend the next couple of months with the OG Red Hood costume, and by that I mean the helmet, the red one, and the brown leather coat that he uses, with his utility belt, and be a vigilante at night, blending in during the day. One day, he would actually be stopping a group of a huge organization of drug dealers, and Aizawa, as well as a bunch of heroes, would start to chase him off and try to fight him, with Deku escaping rather easily, since those heroes are more used to dumb villains, petty villains, not really the type of people who are smart like Deku. So he would get away very easily. Aizawa would actually keep up with him, and this is when Aizawa will try to use his quirk canceling ability, but all he did was take away that one quirk that Deku had. His ability to conceal his presence. Of course, he doesn't even need it since he's amazing at that already. So, that would happen. Eventually, Deku would be in a corner, and Aizawa, as well as Deku, or the Red Hood, will start fighting. And Aizawa would actually take him down. Wait, no, not Aizawa. Deku would take out Aizawa rather easily and have a little bit of a fight that, I don't know if you could even call it that. It was more of a massacre, since every single kick and punch that Aizawa threw, every single attack that he tried to land with his scarf was easily dodged by Deku and his increased senses as well as strength. He punched Aizawa in the ribs, breaking a couple, and knocked them down to the floor. He would then tie him down with his own scarf, and Aizawa would be on the floor. He would then proceed to scream, "Why are you doing this? You're no better than they are." And Deku would stop, saying, "I'm not the bad guy. I'm helping people. You heroes only talk and talk, but there's no proof. You're all money hungry, selfish, and corrupted. And it's surprising. I thought heroes stood for justice, stood for helping people, but all you heroes want to do is get credit." This would leave Aizawa in a sort of damn it state. And this is when the heroes would arrive to help Aizawa. Nezu would actually call for a meeting, and they would discuss it with All Might, Endeavor, and all the major heroes being there present. And I forgot to mention, but Deku would always leave a certain mark that he would carve out on his targets, you know, the people who he tracked. And it would actually be a sort of, what should it be? It'd be, I don't know. Y'all make that up. I don't really care. But it would just be like a dope little like scar that he'll carve onto them. And Deku would escape. He would then train for a little bit, and the next day would arrive. Nighttime. His favorite time. He would be starving and mugging when out of nowhere a mist would arrive. A purple and black mist. And there would be a man with a suit, Kurogiri, stepping out and offering Deku to join the League of Villains. Deku, thinking it would be a great idea to take these guys down, would accept and think to himself that if he could meet the boss and stop it at the core, then this would be a piece of cake. This is when he'll meet Shigaraki. And Shigaraki would actually think he's a bit of a show-off, with Deku thinking Shigaraki's nothing more than a brat, and learning, not learning, more like just observing that he couldn't be the boss. He was moving the cards, but he wasn't the boss. This is when Deku would look around and just kind of see all the heroes and keep track of what they're doing, as well as watch what's going on. Shigaraki would then start telling him about their plan to destroy All Might and the Nomu, and how they're going to attack the USJ. Deku, now being 15 by the way, sorry I forgot to mention that, would actually be shocked, thinking that this is good for him. He can take out the League of Villains as well as stop a giant plot to destroy All Might. Since All Might he had always liked as a child, and he knew that All Might was the only genuine hero around. This is when Deku would actually plot and train. He would get his suit ready with the League operation happening. Also, I forgot to mention, everything that happened in canon would happen, and let's just say that Izuku doesn't get in, and some random 1B student ends up getting into that class, and Mineta gets expelled. I don't like Mineta, but Mineta gets expelled, and everything else should go to canon. But yeah, with all the little elite heroes until the USJ attack, the students would be gathering up, and this is when 13 would actually announce that quirks can be dangerous and give her speech. And this is when, out of nowhere, a portal would appear, and all of the villains would pop out, with everything else going to canon, and the villains attacking, with Deku actually being one of the people who was starting to show up. As soon as Aizawa sees this, he then tells all the kids to jump back, saying, "It can't be, he's with them." This is when Deku would then jump towards Aizawa and then start fighting him. As this fight's progressing, Deku would actually be talking to Aizawa, telling him, "I'm not the big problem here. They have a plan. They're going to take out All Might unless you help me. Listen to me, Aizawa. I'm working undercover, and I'm going to take these guys down, but you need to trust me." This is when then Aizawa would then, as they're fighting, say, "And why should I trust you?" And Deku would say, "You shouldn't. But believe in me, and I promise I'll take these guys down. I'll try to have the least amount of casualties as possible and help you out as much as I can." And Aizawa would then kind of tisk, and then Deku would jump off, taking out Aizawa, presumably, and Aizawa would let himself be taken down. This is when the Nomu would arrive. And this time, Bakugo and Todoroki would actually try to take it out. But Bakugo would get punched and flung away, and Todoroki's eyes would just get destroyed easily, with the Nomu almost killing him. And this is when All Might would arrive. All Might would fight against the Nomu, and that fight would pretty much go to canon, with Shigaraki almost killing him, and everything else would go much towards canon. This is when Deku actually would be standing there, and Shigaraki would be like, "It's no fair, it's no fair." And this is when the League of Villains would go away. Kurogiri would actually teleport away Shigaraki, Red Hood, and a couple of other petty villains, as well as not the Nomu, because the Nomu was flung out. And that would be that for that interaction. Now, as soon as they leave, Shigaraki would be telling him he should have killed Aizawa, and Deku says that's not how he works. He says he's a vigilante. He will not kill them, but he will help them destroy All Might. He makes up a petty reason, something random, to make Shigaraki think that he's really working with him. He'll then tell Shigaraki that he will work by him, but he will not lead him, and he needs to stop being so bratty if he actually wants to do what he's intending to do. This is when he'll then leave, and that's where I'm going to be ending it off. So, if you guys enjoyed this, go ahead and leave 20 likes, and once I hit the like goal, I'll actually be uploading part 2. Now, part 2 won't really be covering the USJ, the Stain, none of that. It won't be covering any of that. Part 2 will actually be covering more alongside Deku taking out villains, and Deku's plan to take out the League of Villains. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Remember, the like goal is 20 likes. I'm going to go with 20 likes, something simple, since this is the first episode. But with that, oh wait, I also forgot to mention, I actually created a Discord server, so if you guys are actually interested in joining that, then I'm going to leave the link down in the description. It'll only be available for 2 days, 2 days, 2 days, 2 days, I believe, so you should probably get on that as quick as possible. But with nothing else, Zether out.